My question is to the Prime Minister. Jan from Frankston is an aged pensioner who works part-time as a teacher. She received JobKeeper and Centrelink is now demanding she repay more than $1,000. She has to repay at $15 a fortnight out of her pension. Billions of dollars of JobKeeper were gifted to firms with rising earnings. Why is the Prime Minister not asking them to repay a single cent?
The Treasurer.
Well, thank you, Mr Speaker. I'm very happy to take the member for Fenner's question because I can't get a question from the Labor Party's 12th man there, Mr Speaker, the member for Rankin. He can't even get a question up in budget week, let alone in a normal week. And with half the members on the front bench, he still can't get a question, Mr Speaker. Now, the reality is that people knew of their obligations. The angry member for Rankin. The member, Mr Speaker, people who received JobKeeper knew of their obligations. Welfare recipients in particular had an obligation to report JobKeeper as ordinary income, Mr Speaker. Now, because the question went to the importance of JobKeeper and the payments under JobKeeper, let me remind the House what the Governor of the Reserve Bank said. The JobKeeper program is really about keeping people in jobs. It has done a remarkably good job of that, Mr Speaker. A remarkably good job at that. And we know from the Reserve Bank that at least 700,000 jobs have been saved by JobKeeper, Mr Speaker.
Just say to the Treasurer, I understand the points he's making, but he needs to be relevant to the question that was asked.
And, Mr Speaker, the relevance to the question is that JobKeeper has been a remarkable program for all of those who have received it. And people who are on welfare...
The Treasurer just resume his seat for a second. The Leader of the Opposition will cease interjecting. The Manager of Opposition Business.
On direct relevance, I'd put that it's not directly relevant for the Treasurer to be explaining why wage subsidies that we called for are important policy. It is relevant to the question to answer whether or not the billions of dollars of JobKeeper that were gifted to firms that had rising earnings, whether or not they should have been asked to repay a cent.
And before I call the Treasurer, I mean, the point I would make, I can see that's the point those on my left want to focus on, but there was another question there as well about a pensioner from Frankston being asked to repay. So the Treasurer needs to bring himself to those points.
Clear with respect to people on welfare that they had to treat it as ordinary income. That's the response to that. Now, in the response to the member's interjection there, the Leader of Opposition
Point of order,
Leader of Opposition Business, when he refers to the billions of dollars that were paid under JobKeeper, let me remind the honourable member that when Treasury did a review of JobKeeper, it said the following. It said it had been well targeted. The payment went to businesses that experienced an average decline in turnover in April of 37% against the same month a year previous, and it went to businesses at which the job separation rate had doubled following the introduction of operating restrictions just before JobKeeper was introduced. We put it in place for 6 months. We extended it at a taper rate of another 6 months, Mr Speaker, and those opposite continue to diminish the success of that program, which has been part of Australia's remarkable economic recovery.